a Bulldog radio podcast.
The Ferris State Bulldogs have upset the nation's number 2 ranked team. Wide open! Taylor is going to take this one to the house! Touchdown Bulldogs!
September 20th. Welcome in, everybody, to the Most Valuable Sports Podcast. Brandon Worth alongside my partner, Joe Nagy.
What's up, everybody?
We got a banger today. We got a great show in store for you.
Huge.
Kaylee Maat, two-time Setter of the Week, is joining us in studio for an exclusive interview, as well as the Ferris State Sports Report. And turns out the race on last week and 2 weeks ago got Joe wild up on racing. So, yes, NASCAR. We're going to talk about NASCAR on this show. So you're going to make sure.
It was the Bristol night race last weekend, so that's kind of sick.
So, yeah, we're going to dive into that, as well as the Detroit Tigers' new hire and college football wrap-up. So make sure that you subscribe for more episodes and banger content coming. And if y'all are subscribed to us on YouTube, you might have saw that we dropped a little sneaky peeky on YouTube. So you might want to go check that out. Me and Joe had a convo about Michigan football and quarterbacks. Ooh, about how that situation.
It's a great conversation, really.
Oh, it is. It is absolute factual,
analytical, insightful stuff.
Yes. Those are the adjectives I was looking for. Did you read my mind?
We're on the same wavelength, brother.
Dude, we are good at what we do.
We really are.
Without further ado,
let's swing it to the interview.
Now joining us in studio, two-time GLIAC Setter of the Week, Kaylee Maat's joining us. Kaylee, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, okay, first question for you. This weekend, team had a big trip up to the UP, played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Can you talk a little bit about the difference it's like traveling to those schools all the way up north, just a big road trip in general, but also not having that break in between days? You're playing all 3 days of the weekend.
Yeah, it is a big trip. Super long bus ride, but it's really good bonding. We love the trip, and it is tough playing the 3 days in a row, but, you know, it's a business trip. We got to do what we got to do.
That's true. And you get fudge on the way back, too.
That is true. Some ice cream.
Of course.
Fudge, a whole bunch of stuff.
What wouldn't be a great road trip without some ice cream? But you guys having success this weekend, obviously taking the 3 in a row, and especially after playing a lot of those tougher teams at the beginning of the year, maybe starting off on a little bit of skid. Now, how does it feel just to really keep the ball rolling and start beating all these GLIAC teams?
It feels good. We had a tough schedule at the beginning. We wanted to kind of force ourselves to face adversity early, and coming back in GLIAC, it feels good to put what we worked through into gameplay.
Absolutely.
For sure. And then the team is compiled of a much younger core of athletes than it was last year. You lost a lot of veterans. You know, what was that like for you and in your shoes, kind of stepping up to be a leader, as well as encouraging these younger players to step up into the limelight and take those opportunities for improvement?
Yeah, me and Tia talked at the beginning of the year, and she was like, I mean, you got to be the old lady here. And I was like, I'm still young. But, yeah, me and Tia meet every week, and we work through what the little bumps in the road that we got being young. But we're very mighty in our young age.
Yeah, for sure, with the young core. And I'm also having some transfers coming in, like Chelsea and like Emma as well. Just talk about having them come in and being these contributors early on for a team that really needs to fill those holes that you had so much talent from last year.
Yeah, it's really been nice having transfers come in. Usually we don't have a ton of transfers, but Chelsea coming in with a little bit of experience on the court, it's helped a ton, especially with her having a starting role now.
Yeah, for sure. And Coach Tia, she always talks about being in the now, not focusing on win streaks or anything like that. You know, how has that been able for you and your teammates to be able to buy into that mentality and kind of stay locked in, for that one drill, for this one set, for that one game, and not really looking too much forward and just kind of staying focused on what's on the plan ahead?
Yeah, after coming back from Washington and getting our butts kicked, we came back into practice really hungry, and we kind of bought into that after Tia kept continuing to talk about it, and we were like, all right, we actually gotta put work in now.
For sure.
And some teams, like especially, we know like Coach Wilhelm's teams always bounce back, and there's a lot of programs that haven't been able to do that, so that's for sure. But obviously, you guys playing in a new place this year. Hopefully, Bulldog Arena gets put in sometime very, very soon.
Yeah.
But now you guys are in Wink. Just talk about the change going over from down in the dungeon at Ingleglaben last year and then coming up to Wink this year, which is a completely kind of different environment with the low ceilings.
Yeah, we at the very beginning it was tough trying to figure out how to control the ball with low ceilings, but we've done a lot of drills just throwing balls up into the ceilings, bouncing off, so we figured it out.
Sick. I mean, I remember last year for the regionals, I was doing stats, and a Michigan Tech like dad or someone was like yelling at me that the ceilings. She was like, "I'm an intern, man. I don't know what you want me to do here."
What do you want us to do?
He was like, "Why are you playing here?" I was just like,
Yeah.
"I don't know. The NCAA wanted us to. I can't
Yeah, they were not happy about it.
take it up my boss. Play a little bit better next time. I don't know." Yeah, but with that type of coaching style and stuff like that, and especially with going into Wink Arena, you know, what does a normal week in practice look like leading up to games?
Yeah, so usually at the beginning of the week, it's a little more drilly, trying to figure out what we could do better from the weekend. And then we go more into gameplay as we continue throughout the week.
For sure.
Yeah, and obviously you guys now starting to go up on a little bit of a road stand here. You got Davenport and Saginaw coming up this weekend. Just talk about the week of preparation looking up at those teams and what's the game plan going into those two crucial games.
Yeah, the beginning of the week, again, we'll focus on ourselves, and then we'll kind of turn the page onto what they're good at and what they do and how we can minimize what they're good at.
For sure.
Absolutely, and especially with the cap opening up just last week, and we were talking about a little bit before our interview, and you said how much of a blessing it is. How weird is it kind of knowing that you're going to be working out and stuff like that in what was once the volleyball arena? Like, is that kind of like interesting, different to kind of figure out?
It is very weird. Like, there's so much history in that gym that I got to contribute to as well, but all the women before me put so much work into there. But it's just going to continue in a little bit of different way now.
Are you going to try to get a piece of the floor? I saw that there was like a pallet full of
They
it.
got to auction those off and give them out, right? They
I was
have
tempted
to.
steal
Yeah,
them.
so
I was tempted. I went
Are you talking
down.
about thievery right now?
They were just out in the open. There was a small one that was like maybe, I don't know, like a small, like it was like a phone size. And I was like, might as well steal it.
Yeah,
I didn't steal it, by the way. I didn't take it.
Yeah. There's a reason that I mentioned partners in crime at the beginning of the show.
There we go.
Like, it's right there on the wall,
Yeah.
Joe. But no, that would be super cool. Like, there should be like a charity event, give it out to the former players or something. That would be sweet.
Yeah, that is Tia's plan. We're going to go through players first and then alumni and then everyone else who wants.
Sweet. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the cap, strengths and weaknesses, obviously being able to be at a high level like you've had over the last couple years. I know now you're on the top 10 list for already for assists so far on your young career already. Just talk about what you believe your strengths are that you can bring to this group and what makes you so successful.
Man, I mean, it's been throughout the years a ton of hard work just in the gyms, but it's not so much like the volleyball anymore. It's the leadership part that's coming into it. So we're trying, me and Tia, every week, just like I said earlier, but trying to get the leadership aspect back up there to lead the young girls with me.
For sure. It's not just about what you can do physically on the floor, but as much as what you can do around the floor too.
Yeah, for sure. And especially with like leadership and stuff, do you ever kind of like reach out to the women that you've played with before, you know, like Sam, Katie and stuff that graduated last year, especially ones that were here a couple years before you? Do you ever try to like reach out to them and get like advice or anything like that?
Yeah, all the time. They're like my best friends still. I was just talking to Sam before I got in here actually. So yeah, I talk to them all the time, not just school but volleyball leadership stuff too. So
awesome.
That's sweet. And just the bondage that you guys have had, and obviously lots of great memories together. Is there a memory that you'll just never forget once you obviously move on to bigger, better things after Ferris State Volleyball? Is there one memory that you're just like, man, I'll never forget that?
Oh, man. There's so many just like stupid little things that happen, and I'm like, I'll never forget that. But I could not tell you just one specific like big moment, but just the little things adding up together.
For sure.
For sure. Just kind of like all that culminating, especially just hanging out with friends is probably the big one.
Yeah.
Well, last one for you here before we let you go. The big one that we ask everybody, it's always, what is your favorite thing about being part of Ferris State and being a Ferris State Bulldog?
Oh, geez. My favorite thing, I just love being a part of like a group of women all trying to do the same thing. Like, we're so driven in what we do, and like Ferris, we're a winning program. Like, not just volleyball, literally every sport here is a winning program. I'm not a big fan of losing, so that was a big part of my decision.
Losing kind of sucks, so
yeah.
Who likes to lose?
Exactly.
Nobody.
I sure don't. So, but awesome. Thanks you so much, Kaylee, for coming on, and we appreciate all the time that you gave, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
once again, huge thanks to Kaylee Maat for coming on the show. Really appreciate her taking time out of her busy schedule, as well as getting ready for this weekend in GLIAC play. It's going to be a good one, and we're pretty excited for that. So we're going to hop right into the Ferris State Sports Report. And what better sport to start off than volleyball? We got a pretty good weekend coming up for the team. A little bit of a road trip. The last two on this road trip stand until they make a return home next week. But they're going to be taking on Davenport on Friday, Saginaw Valley on Saturday. Two teams who are middle of the road in the GLIAC, but two teams who we can't sleep on, especially with them kind of being known to kind of disrupt a little bit. I think Davenport beat Grand Valley or something like that last year. So we know that they have it in them. But Brandon, what are you looking forward to for this weekend?
Yeah, they're going to be two stingy tests for sure. Obviously, anybody in the GLIAC, regardless of record, is going to be a tough competitor. It's one of the best conferences. I think it's the best conference in Division II altogether.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
That's literally for anything.
Literally not even biased.
Yeah, literally for
Straight
anything. Up. Like the most all-around dominant D2 conference. Like
I'd say so.
Has to be the GLIAC. Like you'd think, right? I mean,
I would say so.
It's
what
just
because who? Okay. Side note. Let's just go through this. Let's prove everybody. Real quick.
Okay.
Football. We have number 1 and 3
Jack,
and 21.
with
right?
Yeah, 22.
I don't think there's any other conference that has three teams in the top 25.
I don't think so. Maybe the RMAC because they have like Mines and maybe Pueblo. No, Pueblo's not ranked anymore, are they? No, because they lost to GV.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They have Mines.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Volleyball, last year, we had, 5 teams go to the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Tech, Wayne, GV, and us.
Yeah, insane. Cross country, Grand Valley won national champions, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, you have that.
That one's not. We literally send 4 teams to nationals every year. No other conference does that.
No other shot. Soccer, we had 3 teams go to the playoffs last year.
One was a national champion.
Yeah, and Ashland was basically in our league.
Pretty much
so
at
you
that
can count
time.
that.
Yep.
They were still in the process of switching over. Basketball, it's the same thing. We send a lot of teams to the tournament every year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Michigan Tech, us, and Grand Valley made it last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. I don't really know swimming and diving that much. We don't have a swimming and diving team, so I barely even pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Baseball, also don't really pay attention to that since we don't have a team.
There's a couple ranked teams for baseball. Northwood's very good.
Grand Valley's good. Grand Valley's good.
Well, Northwood's not in there anymore, though.
Davenport was pretty good.
But when they were a couple years ago, when they're still in the GLIAC, they're still dominant.
I mean, you got tennis and track and field.
Yep.
So.
Dominance.
Yeah, so pretty sure GLIAC is number 1. But back to volleyball.
Yes, proven point. Saginaw's a tough team. They come in 8-4, 4-0 in GLIAC play. They're looking very solid. One of the more improved teams coming into this year. And Davenport always is going to be stingy. The West Coast or the West Michigan rivalry certainly stands tall when it comes to us and that other team from Allendale. But it's definitely going to be really fun to see how this team reacts as well. I mean, we just took care of business on a really tough road stand. Like you said, Joe, back to back in the UP is something that not everybody can do and not everybody can do well. And we certainly did that, played very, very well. Not flawless per se, but we got the job done for sure. And just to think, Joe, we didn't lose a set.
Yeah, we did
9-0.
Yeah, that's just clean. That's just a clean sweep.
That's literally near perfection.
9 sets, and we're on the road.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But the big thing, the big emphasis I remember talking about last week, limiting the errors. We know our team has the dominance of efficiency to get high hit percentage, a lot of kills, great setup offensive play. Doing really solid defensively, staying in good position, condensed. It was really going to be important, and we did that, especially right out of the gate against Tech. I believe it was 11 errors total in that game altogether, and that's very, very impressive considering we had a couple games where we were up into those categories for a single set. So definitely really good improvement there. It got even better when we played Northern offensively, lights out the first 2 sets. I mean, the momentum was just absolutely in our favor.
Jeez, 25-10 and 25-17.
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous.
Just rolling, and then finished it off against Lake State in dominant fashion with a 3-0 sweep there as well. And it was definitely a grittier game in that Lake State game. Didn't play as clean, but still got the job done for sure. And I mean,
I'd say the first set was a little bit rough. I mean, but after that, we played pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't have the best hit percentage in the first game or second game. Sorry,
first and second sets
but
for sure.
But third one, we kind of came back with a little bit. 36.
Yeah, and you can definitely attribute that to having to play the first 2 days against really tough teams. It takes it out of you physically and mentally.
That's the thing. As soon as you get done with the game, you gotta be on the road,
right?
Because Houghton to Marquette is like a 3-hour drive, close to, because you got to go a little bit down the horn by what is it?
Yeah, it's longer than a lot of people think it is.
What bay is that around the horn?
Around the horn.
Is that Copper or something? No, it's Copper Harbor.
No, Copper Harbor is the very, very tip. That's where you go to Isle Royal. Is from Copper Harbor. That's like the very, 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 very tip of the.
Don't even worry about it. Don't worry. I'm a master.
Definitely
I'll
great,
pull it up.
Great geography major as I do sports talk for a living. So you can trust me.
But toss it back to when we first started talking about like the preseason stuff. The preseason rankings don't mean jack. I mean, we were ranked 4th. Every team that was ranked above us are, just barely above a winning record, if not a losing one. Michigan Tech and Wayne State, who are 2 and 3, both 1 and 3 right now in the GLIAC. Grand Valley, 3 and 1, so they're right behind us. But I mean, 5 and 0 overall when it comes to GLIAC play. I mean, I think that really shows and attests to the grit and hard work that the team has put together. Especially seeing that we're one of the more younger teams in the GLIAC, but we're still able to come in and really do some damage when we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And dominance all the way across. Shout out to our award winners over the weekend as well for the Bulldogs. Sweeping, Joe, the whole GLIAC Player of the Week podium. Not many teams say they can do that.
Keweenaw Bay is what it was.
Oh,
sorry.
Of course. You were confusing me with around the horn, but now
it's it's under the horn.
Yeah,
there,
I know what you're talking about. But shout out Kaylee Maat, setter of the week, Claire Nowicki, offensive player of the week, and Leah Bylett, defensive player of the week. Full sweep. So congrats to those ladies for a dominant performance, and it was well deserved. 9-0 over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Pure dominance. Keep the train rolling. Doesn't matter how many in a row. Matters the one in front of you. Keep that mindset, ladies.
Yes.
Doing awesome. So they'll be, of course, facing off against Saginaw and Davenport this weekend, both on the road. You can find all that information out. Where, Joe?
FerrisStateBulldogs.com.
Oh, of course. But anyway, moving on over now, we have soccer to recap. A couple tough tests up north as well. Actually heard that the volleyball and soccer teams stayed in the same hotel when they were playing.
They played against Northern.
Against South, so that's pretty sweet.
Pretty sick.
But yeah, it was really super good to see the bounce back on Sunday. Didn't play as well, gave up a couple second half goals in that early Friday game. Was unfortunate to see that, but the bounce back, winning at Curly in Houghton against a tough team, 1-0. Certainly good to see that bounce back, and especially for a team that has shown the resiliency so far this season. If it doesn't go right on Friday, we'll bounce back and get them back on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it wasn't really the greatest game by us by any means, but I think you can kind of attest that too. Like, that day was pretty cold just in general in Michigan, and to have that kind of go, especially up in Northern, it's going to be cold. It's going to be a little bit overcast. It kind of tosses a little bit of a wrench in it. And keep in mind, Northern Michigan was on a roll. They were 3-0 by the time that, or I think 5-0 by the time that this game came around, and we were still kind of struggling. Had a couple ties under our belt. So Northern's going to be a team I think that can really shake up the GLIAC and kind of make some damage this year. And we already knew too that this was going to be a tough game, seeing that Northern, was really great competitors last year. They have some really good players. I mean, Brooke Patilla, one of their midfielders, she did really good. 3 shots on goal. I think she had 4 shots total, a goal and 2 assists. So she was one that was pretty on fire. But, they just kind of outplayed us a little bit on the offensive side, having 14 shots total. We only had 7. We didn't have a whole lot of corner kicks either. And I think we had pretty good efficiency, but just when it comes down to that defense kind of stepping up a little bit lackluster. But I think that's going to be all right, especially seeing who we got to play next week. Yeah,
Northern definitely pressed us heavily offensively. They doubled us in shots, and very much so, getting able to get 2 more past the net than we did. But also shout out to Mr. Joe Nagy over here. What a call. Katie Nestico getting a net and goal over the weekend. You called that, my friend, so kudos to you.
I did call that.
So kudos for, this man's a shot caller, if you guys didn't know, ladies and gentlemen.
There's just nothing to but to do it, really. I just got a talent that not a lot of people have. You can't say nothing, but you just got to say something.
Can you Babe Ruth point to the right field wall, please? The left field wall, please, right now? That would I want a picture.
I'll just call my shot,
Yeah, we'll have to wait for his prediction here.
I'll have to start being a betting man.
Betting man. FanDuel? DraftKings?
Nah, dude. If I started betting, I would lose all my money.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I don't need to do it either. But anyway, good win Sunday as well. Nikki May getting the only goal for the Bulldogs and the game-winning goal, if you consider it that way. She did pick up a yellow card as well as Carissa, but that's the thing is this team is proving,
especially just play with your heart, man.
Yeah, playing physical is going to end up winning us games. It's just going to be another tool in our tool belt.
Yeah,
the way that this game's played especially in this conference at this level. When we talked back with Isabella Sabo in that interview, you can check that out in the feed below. She mentioned how physical it really was, especially going from the MAC and going to the GLIAC. It's really the same thing. Division I, Division II, it's just as physical, and just being able to have that and being able to press with that. Obviously, it was a really foul-driven contest in that Sunday game. I believe there was 34 combined fouls in that game. So a lot of stoppages, a lot of physicality, but still able to get shots on net. Good quality looks, and Nikki ended up getting one to fall.
Yeah, pretty sick stuff. Glad we were able to get that bounce back win. It's pretty important, especially against a team like Michigan Tech, who can really do some damage, and a good team too. And I think it's going to be pretty solid, especially. It's also just the capping off the big road trip. That's the really tough part. You're going to Northern Michigan. That's like a 6-hour car ride. Toss on another 2 right after that. You got to get on the road and kind of get moving to Michigan Tech, so that way you can kind of have a little bit of rest period, practice a little bit before. So, especially going up on these up north road trips, it's always a tough one. I would say it's a win in my book if we squeak away with a split. You always want to see a clean sweep whenever you go up there. But when you get the split, you always know that when they come back, you're going to be able to do some damage. And you'll probably be able, you got the fire under you, so you're going to be pretty solid to be able to get that sweep again once they come at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely going to have some opportunities this upcoming weekend. We're going to be facing off against Parkside and Purdue Northwest. So teams that are definitely beatable. Especially for Parkside. They have one of the best keepers in the GLIAC with Guyton, but they also give up a lot of shot opportunities. So defensively, not as strong as the teams we have faced. They do have some goal scorers like Baker that might give us a little bit of trouble fits-wise, but definitely a team that we can go through, we can get back on track, get 6 points, and move on into the second half of conference play, facing off against tougher teams like Saginaw and Northwood back on our home field, which will be absolutely crucial to get that moving, just because with those 4 home games in a row now, you can really get it dialed in as far as what you need to fix, what you need to do tactics-wise when you start, and then you're going to have to play these teams right around the bend, because you're going to play Wisconsin and Purdue right after the Northwood and Saginaw game, so it's going to be right back over to play them again. Not really a short turnaround, so it's going to be really important to get a lot of those details figured out and really use this home stretch to start picking up and piling up points, because we're falling a little bit in the standings, and we're a better team than where we're placed right now. And this weekend's going to be really huge to get those points back on track.
Pretty crucial
would be the word that would be very appropriate to use. But anyway, moving on over. Cross country was in action this weekend. We were over at Sparty, Michigan State, so definitely a fun race overall. Very hot, as always. But definitely got some solid work in. Wasn't our most fine performance. I know on the men's side we were a little, I'm disappointed is kind of the word that comes to mind. We still ran very well. We ran better this year than we have in years past, but for us, it really wasn't that great because we know we can do better. So Nate Alford, great race. He was the leading dog, 26:49. I followed up 27:02, as well as Casey Bowman, Brendan Kearney at 27:27, 27:30 respectively, along with Kevin/Keith Wilson at 27:44. And we ended up, I believe, placing in the top 16, I want to say, against a lot of D1 teams. Like Cincinnati was there, obviously Michigan State, Kent State. Kent State was a very physical team, if I may add. So definitely some displeasures after that race with some of their guys, but we'll leave it at that. But the women's team also did really well, finishing 12th. And really had some great performances. Hannah Brock, 79th place, 23:30. Lena Strauss, 23:34. Cindy Kubiak led with a 23:38. Freshman Whitney Farrell with a 23:53 for 4th. And Danae Feldsposh at 1:04 overall. 24:02, rounding up the top 5. So going to be fun now as we have a week to get back to work, get the wheels back on the track. And we're going to be wheels up going to Louisville here soon, to the Greater Louisville Classic. It's going to be fast. Let me tell you what. Yeah. If it stays dry like it has across the globe a little bit right now, it could be zooming. Even though it was pretty wet this morning, I will say for our workout, went out to Man Loop, as we like to call it, because, turns boys into men or men into boys for a hill workout. And it was a little sloppy on the dirt roads, let me tell you what. I'm still feeling, I literally took a shower to come here to do the interview and went recording our podcast right now. And I literally can still feel dirt on my leg. I literally took a shower for like 5 minutes straight trying to get all the dirt off. But hey, that's the price to pay to get some quality work in,
Yeah, that's true. You gotta be able to put in the work to kind of get ready for the weekend. Hopefully it does stay dry, because I would like to see some fast times.
Oh, dude, we could run so fast, over the next 2 weeks. So
fast.
It's gonna be fun.
Fast.
So that will be Saturday, October 1st, and there will be also, if you notice on the schedule, might be confusing, Lansing Community College Invitational. No, both teams won't be going to Lansing and then Louisville the day afterwards. It'll be split squads, so you'll see 2 different travel squads, one at one meet, one at the other. So you can be able to find that all out online, who's traveling where. You can ask around. We'll be glad to tell you where we're going, and you can support us and follow along on the website for all the results and more. It's going to be a fast one. We're looking forward to it. So it's going to be fun. Also in the news, tennis over at the regional semifinals. Shout out to Jan Kapul as well as Benjamin Lordy. They were competing in Indianapolis in the regional championships on I think it was Sunday and Monday. But won a pair of doubles games, and then ended up falling in the semifinals to the eventual actual regional champs in Edgar Destuet and Tom Nicholas Zuik. There was 23 teams there according to the recap, and I think there was 32 doubles teams in that tournament format. And we got all the way to the semifinals. So shout out to them for a good performance. We've certainly seen Coach Doran's crews do so well, and they certainly did. And, I mean, that's a really good wrap-up for the fall season. There might be some extra invitationals going on with their schedule. But, I mean, it's going to be really good, really solid fall preparation. And then the spring, time to get rolling and time to start winning again.
Rocking and rolling, getting after it.
Absolutely. So shout out to tennis. Golf also had some pretty good performances over the weekend at the Doc Sprague Invite over there in Ohio. So congrats to all the great performances we saw there. I think Day
2 is going on right now.
Yeah, Day 2 is going on as we speak. So right now we're, I believe, in 8th place at the current moment right now. And we're only trailing 2 GLIAC teams that are doing really well, Wayne State and Grand Valley State. But we're really looking to see where we're at right now. We've seen a lot of great stuff overall from a lot of the younger guys. So we're really seeing a lot of step up, as well as the veterans showing the consistency. And we look forward to making sure that we can really dial it in, tune it up, and then we're going to let it rip here in the spring as well.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to these 2 seasons. I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people are sleeping. Obviously, we lost a lot of our quality seniors from last year, or our juniors as well. But I mean, we still have a really solid team, and I really like what Coach Stark's doing right now. And I think what he's really bringing a lot of these younger guys, getting them the experience, and letting them play a lot of these big tournaments. Because I mean, like just in far, like I can even relate this to my scramble tournament over the summer, Joe. Like golfing in a tournament environment,
it's a lot different.
It is a lot different than going out and playing around. Like
the
way
that
you
locked
think,
in,
the way that you perceive a shot, so different because you're thinking about so many different factors.
It's really a chat. Oh, sorry for yawning.
Oh,
sorry, my bad. My bad about that. It's really like a whole different approach that you gotta take. It's like a chess game almost, because you gotta like really think about, especially your practice rounds. You gotta think about where the pin's gonna be for different days. Especially if you're playing on either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you might have a little bit easier of a situation on Sunday. But if they're gonna be playing tournament pins, it's gonna be different. If it's raining, you gotta figure that out. But also, it's like, okay, if the pin's in the back or in a different situation, like I gotta hit a different club, because some greens could be 20, 30 yards long, or 40 yards wide or something like that, and that could be the difference between trying to do a little soft 8-iron, doing a little pitching wedge. It's going to be a lot different. Not to mention being in Findlay, Ohio. I'm pretty sure their course is one of the tougher ones. So it's going to be a really interesting time, really challenging one. But day 1, they did pretty well, 580 for strokes for the whole for the 5. So that's really not too bad. So, I mean, they can really kind of step up a little bit, but I think we're going to be pretty all right, especially going into day 2. And we'll hopefully be able to get the final results soon.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we'll mention that on the Thursday, Friday show So you make sure you can subscribe for that. And we'll give you all the deets as long as they're posted, unlike last time where we had a little bit of a malfunction with the tennis results. So hopefully we get all that to you and we can recap how well the dudes did. And then the women will be next week, as well as women's tennis. We'll have regionals next week, so you can make sure you can stay tuned for that.
And football is going to be back this week.
Football is back this week to wrap up the Ferris State Sports Report.
We might not have had football this week, but you still want to hear some scores from around the GLIAC. So
sure, let's do
get ready
that.
for this week. Northern Michigan took on Davenport in their first non-conference matchup, since they'll both be playing each other again later in the season.
Yep.
Davenport took the W 31-21, so Northern Michigan's going to be out for blood next time they come around. Saginaw Valley running up the score on Northwood 35-14, still playing pretty strong. They just got to 21 in the nation, so one of the first times that they've been ranked in the past couple of years. Really cool to see, especially seeing that we'll be playing them soon. Wayne State lost 21-28 to Wisconsin lacrosse. Wayne State had a little bit of a good day. I think they had one of their corners was defensive player of the week for the GLIAC. So good to see, even though they got the loss. Grand Valley State 66-7 against Lincoln University at California. Nice. They ran up the score. Hopefully, we'll be able to mimic that as well this week against Waldorf. But Midwestern State took on Michigan Tech in Wichita Falls, Texas. Michigan Tech had the big road trip. They lost 28-21. So hate to see that.
Yeah, they hate to see it, but going to be fun this weekend. Waldorf coming to town to take us on in the homecoming game. 3 o'clock kickoff for those interested in coming to Top Taggart Field. It's going to be fun. I mean, we're looking at Waldorf as a team that is definitely going to be fun to play. We've never played them before, so obviously new beginnings in this matchup, but definitely a team that has shown that they're a pretty good, solid team right now at 4-0. Obviously, we're going to like our chances with all of the fans that will be coming in this game.
It's going to be a sick time.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some different stuff this weekend. Being able to have Waldorf come in is a team that I'm sure we have preparation for, and obviously they're going to have some preparation on us, but not the full packet like we'd see with the GLIAC team. So I think you're going to see a lot of different surprising looks, maybe some different kind of play calls they might want to try to experiment with, as this is a game to do that when you got teams that don't have as much familiarity with each other. Playbook's wide open, so it's really going to be fun to see. It's going to be looking forward to seeing, making sure everybody's back, making sure everybody's healthy. We'll see if we get guys like Malik back this weekend, or if they're going to be elected to sit for the week or next week or two.
He's probably going to sit out. I feel like that'd be the best idea.
Yeah,
I don't really want to rush it too much.
Yeah,
especially against Finley, it's going to be a tough team. You definitely want them to be fully healthy. You don't rush it.
I mean, that's the thing. We're so blessed here at Ferris to have 4 highly capable quarterbacks of leading a team and winning football games. So just the crazy thing about having Malik and having Jesse and Evan and Carson, it's just insane that you can literally go into a game. It's like, yeah, we could flip or roll a dice or something and just pick a quarterback and we're still going to be as successful. I mean, not a lot of programs say that. You remember Malik last year? National championship interview? His QBU here, baby.
That is true.
QBU. Not at all inaccurate. Totally true. So it's going to be fun. Make sure that you check out all the ticket and stuff information. I'm sure tickets are going very fast. Pack the student section because now we have bleachers. Permanent bleachers.
Permanent ones.
For these games, guys. So and it was really...
It's not crazy that it took us that long.
It really did take so long. It was just insane.
All I'm saying is big things are going to be coming to Ferris State Athletics and the facilities that we have in the next few years. It's going to be sick. So hopefully it goes through. Yeah. But we'll see.
I would love...
Well, also, the reason I think that they had to get new ones is because last year and the year before, me and my friends were pretty rough on those bleachers. We'd be jumping and the bleachers would go up. I think we heard a bolt snap off or something. Oh,
probably.
So I think that's probably the reason why they had to get new ones.
Yeah, maybe. We had some...
They were kind of slanted one way because we were jumping on too much.
Yeah, we have some very, very enthusiastic fans.
I think that's the best part about it.
So, yeah, it is great until they get on top of one of your steeple barriers and break one. So that was unfortunate.
All I'm saying is if Ferris just took out the track and moved listen.
Okay,
fine. Settle. If we just took out the track and moved the field right up next to the stands and then made a small bowl all the way around, not a whole lot, but at the ends made it pretty much bigger and the opposite side bigger, where you could really the noise there would be multiplied by 10 because you have the whole track that you got to get over, and then after that, where does it go? All the sound just goes up.
Yeah.
And then you just move the track to the open space in between the football field and the soccer field. Just make a nice track and field space right there.
Okay.
That's big enough.
I like your idea. The only problem is that field is very, very wet. So drainage would have to be a very, very in-depth, complex project to make sure all the drainage would get away. Because it definitely was one thing. That's why, I think a couple years ago we had to resurface it, was because of the water pushing off of those hills. But that's just the price we pay for where we're at. So, but I think, if we continue the success, I wouldn't be surprised within the next 10 years to we need to make a football improvement and make a
or
stadium improvement.
even what they could do is just move the football field to where the IMs are.
Over there?
Yeah, just make a whole brand new stadium, and then you could, kind of make the football field like a little bit more like what it is right now. You could kind of make that, improve the track on it, and then you can kind of have that be like a track-centered thing,
It wouldn't be a bad idea, I would say. I would say
that would probably be the best idea, because if you think about it, I mean, you have to kind of work out parking and stuff.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest
biggest.
problem.
It's like the biggest problem.
Mind.
But like, if you really wanted to, knock out Kramer, knock out Bishop. How many people stay there? Just put them in Bond and Peterball and all that stuff. Like, you really don't have to do anything about that. Knock out that, move DPS to somewhere else, and you kind of, that whole spot can be parking, because that's about as big of a spot as what the actual parking lot is now. And I mean, I guess you have the rec parking behind, but really what you could do is just have parking all over the place. You could have parking across the street at the strip mall, because you can just have people pay for parking there. You could have people pay for parking really at the spot down the street by where B-Dubs is at and stuff. I don't know. I got ideas out the wazoo, man.
Yeah,
get me on the phone with the president. Get Bill Pink on the phone.
Yeah, we need to have a chat. I would like that idea. I'd actually consider flip-flopping it. I would say do your idea with football, make the bowl much more tighter, so we actually can keep sound, because you're absolutely right. When everything, that's why it's not as loud. Yeah,
that's like it gets loud, but it's not as loud as like it could be. We have enough people and enough rowdy people that we could get it as loud as what like Grand Valley was. That Anchor Bone last year.
Oh yeah,
almost every game.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem would be definitely parking. Would definitely be the biggest issue, just because with DPS, those lots are really good, but I mean, you're going to have people staying there. That's the only problem. So I would say keep the football field where it is. I wouldn't mind if they had like an open track facility, maybe even over there. I mean, I don't think that would be like a terrible idea. And you could bring in, maybe you could probably have to build up some standage around it. And I mean, that wouldn't be bad either to have you could have like a turf field, multi-purpose field. And you could have that for any team that needs to use it for IMs or whatever. Yeah. And I don't think that would take up that much space where you'd have to even take out. I mean, you probably have to find a new place for the softball fields and stuff for IMs. But I mean, I think that they would be able to find a place somewhere too. I would assume maybe you even could keep it there.
You could I don't know. You could figure it out. Yeah. I mean, it's big enough where it fits a whole track around it.
We have the ability to use that. I just don't want. I'm biased, but I'm going to definitely be biased on this one to say that I would love to have that own facility. I think there's definitely, what Grand Valley does makes sense. They have lubbers. They have that field. We can do something like that and have have the track being moved into its own space where it's with a lacrosse or for a rugby team or something like that, where they can have a surface to play on, so they're not just literally playing on a literal just grass intramural recreational field. That's kind of it's cool, but it's you could definitely do better than that for these game environments. So you could build up. All I could say though is we just don't just plan it there and then just expect we need stands around. We need all the equipment, proper drainage, all that sort of stuff, which I'm sure they might have.
It would be a lot of work, but you'd have to kind of figure it out.
Yeah,
it would just be a lot of planning.
It wouldn't be a terrible spot either, because all the way around is covered for the most part with Kramer and the dorms. The wind's not going to be an issue.
The planning part wouldn't be hard. It's just we need the money.
The upkeep and the money would be probably the hardest part to actually do it. So, but we got ideas here, Joe. I like where your
Get us on the horn with the president.
Yeah,
that's all we got.
Mr. Pink, we have ideas. Call
Mr.
us.
Pink.
Be on the show. There's a wide open chair right there.
Could you imagine? Crazy.
Should we?
Let's try. Why not?
I guess so. We'll talk about it, but we'll go to a break and we'll be back with hopefully more here on the MVSP. The MBSP is proud to partner with the people of Eagle Village Incorporated. With over 50 years of experience helping and changing the lives of youth, there are opportunities for you to be the next to make a direct impact, including plenty of positions available, including summer staff, internships, and more. For more information, visit eaglevillage.org. Eagle Village, where potential soars.
And we return from our break. Gonna hop into some college football now. Not the craziest weekend, Brandon, for week 3. Not too many upsets that we saw. Only the Michigan State blunder against Washington, but everything else was pretty chalk. I guess we'll probably hop in. We can just hop right into that Michigan State Washington game. Pretty crazy game. Washington offense valid.
Yeah.
Or Penix Jr., and that offense is scary good. Putting up a lot of numbers against a pretty good Michigan State defense. 39-28 win. But Michigan State dropped out of the rankings after that loss. Do you agree with that, Brandon?
No. And I know there's a lot of people that were like, Michigan State played horrible in that game. Sure, they were still 11. Like, we should be looking at a team like Miami, for example, that it was 13. They're still in. Are they? So they're really justifying this one performance from Michigan State to drop them out of the top 25. I'm assuming they receive votes. They're probably 26 or 27 or whatever.
Yeah, they're probably right behind it, but still.
Yeah, but I think the problem with it was Washington was unranked. That was the biggest issue with this. But Washington was still at home. It's their third game in a row they've played at home. This is a first road game for Michigan State. Miami lost their first game on the road against a good A&M team. So I think you look at that and they're probably like, yeah, which one? I can understand where the decision is made, but it's just hard. It's really hard for me to believe Michigan State's not a top 25 team. Maybe this is for the better for them, falling out of the top 25. Maybe get some juice underneath of them. Go back to chopping the woodshed, as they would call it. But I mean, if you were to ask me, like, if I were to compare Michigan State to a lot of those lower teams like Pittsburgh, A&M, you could maybe talk about like Penn State and those teams, that I would definitely say like they're in that conversation for sure. Mm-hmm. I would definitely take Michigan State over like Pittsburgh right now. I'm like, they're playing okay, but they're so run heavy. Like, there's got to be somewhere when someone's gonna stop the run and they're gonna be in really deep trouble. So I would put Michigan State in that conversation of like 24 or 25. I think they should still be ranked, but according to these rankings, it makes sense. That's the unfortunate part. It does make sense that they fall to 25 with that, but when I look at those top 25 teams, I'm taking Michigan State over probably 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, but to go kind of more in-depth about this one, this game moved Washington to 3-0 on the season. Michigan State is now 2-1, going to be hopping into Big Ten play next week. But still, that game, Peyton Thorne didn't play half bad. I mean, he played pretty solidly, 323 yards. Yeah, 323 yards, 3 TDs and an interception, 30 for 42. That's pretty efficient if you really look at it. Their rushing could use some work, but receiving-wise and passing-wise, Michigan State really did a good job with that. They just couldn't really get past that defense from Washington. But, Michael Penix Jr., 397, 4 TDs, 24 for 40. That's better than about a 52% completion rate. Dude, they were just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Michigan State's such a good team at establishing physicality and speed, both in like combo in context for what their offense was. I mean, they wanted to get Berger out in space and let him run because he was so good in the first 2 games, and Washington certainly limited him. And not only that, but they put him in so many 3rd and long, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, where Michigan State was just in a position now where it's like, yeah, we don't really have a lot of other options at this point. And Washington was bringing pressure and giving Thorne no time really to survey the field. So then you had guys like Keon Coleman who were the dominant targets in this game. They had that connection there, but without Jaden Reed, you could definitely tell that there was a little bit of lockdown on some of those other guys in the receiving core like Mosley and like Bernard and those guys, where you look at that situation of when you got a guy like Jaden Reed there that can take the top off. You have Keon Coleman that has so many talented gifts, and that gives you 2 receivers to look at. And Washington only had to look at 1 really with Coleman. Obviously, they kind of looked at that during the game, and they started to more focus on the run. So Coleman definitely got his, but as far as overall, the tempo it seemed a little bit off. They were very shaky. They had a lot of penalties. So they just didn't look like themselves. They really just kind of looked shell-shocked. and that's the word that came to mind, especially early on with Washington. Michael Penix was an absolute dog. They their offense looks so good with that speed, that tempo. My gosh, they look like a really good team right now. They're gonna have to prove it on the road though. That's where they're gonna really prove themselves a top 25 team because, like I said, they've only had 3 home games so far.
Yeah, and they got Stanford, UCLA, and then Arizona State after is gonna be somewhat whatever. They're going through a little bit of a change, especially with their new.
Dude, why would you let a coach go in the end zone? That's a terrible look for them. Did you see that?
Yeah,
they fired Herm Edwards in the end zone.
That was literally like,
what are you doing?
That is so incredibly unprofessional.
What are you doing?
Like, especially because here's the thing: the next coach that you go and hire, it's like, well, what are they gonna do if I don't perform? Are they just gonna fire me right on the sideline? Or are they gonna embarrass me like that? Like, that's just something that like you just shouldn't do, especially because what was it? The athletic director and the president.
I think so. Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, that's just so, especially, like, with fans still there. Like, I get, like, if you wait after the game, and kind of, like, wait for it to clear out and then you have that conversation. But that was, like, right after. There's fans filming the whole thing.
Yeah. It's not a professional look for sure. So, it's unfortunate to see some of that stuff happen. Like, there's always the old saying, cut the ties at the tarmac, do it in the tunnel, do it where nobody can see. Like, that would be at least a little bit better. But, come on, man. Really, right after the game, tell him to go pack his stuff. That just makes it look like you're being so judgmental in that moment, and that's just unfortunate to see. Because Coach Herm Edwards is definitely in a position where he helped that football team. Obviously not long term, and that's why they moved on from him. But for what he brought back to that fan base, especially after their upset win last year, I can't remember who they beat, but I remember them beating a top 10 team. And that was such a good moment for them. And it's just really unfortunate that you kind of had to burn that bridge right there with that moment, because now nobody's thinking about that loss anymore. They're thinking about, man, they just literally let Edwards go in the end zone. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. They're a terrible look for that program.
For sure.
So, but anyway, like you said, Joe, a lot of chalk this weekend. A lot of ranked teams taking care of business, like Bama, like Georgia, and a lot of these top teams, Michigan as well against UConn. Blake Corum looked really good. JJ looked good as always. Unfortunate to see Cade go down. This was a bummer for him right before halftime, because you would love to see him continue to succeed, and for all that he's given us. Like I said, the slander is not necessary. Yeah. I know there were some boos in the stadium, but they took over cheers later in the game, which was better. There's no reason Cade McNamara should be booed in any circumstance.
The guy led the team to
beat Ohio State, win a conference championship, make the college football playoff.
It's just weird how quickly fans can switch up, Yeah.
Like
how it's all of a sudden now it's people now are realizing that JJ is the better quarterback, but the guy brought you so much success, and he's been a guy who has stayed with the program to help build it. Of course, it's been an elite program for the past few years, but he came in and made the program better, and it just is very frustrating to see that. When he comes out, into a stadium where he should be met with cheers, it's they're just booing him. It's what? I don't understand what you want from the guy, because he gave it your all, and if you're going to boo him for that, then the thing is, if he does transfer, all those fans are just going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be well, if he's transferred, he wasn't even there to actually help the team. It's well, when he did help the team, it's not like you gave him anything to feel good about. You just booed him the next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that way, and he doesn't deserve that slander. But some other notable games: Oregon beating BYU, 25-12 matchup. Oregon taking care of that one, so they boost themselves now in the AP ranks up to 15 with that win over the Cougars. Miami falls to A&M in their bounce-back games, so A&M now moving up. Like I said, to that, I believe they moved up to 23. Miami going to 25, like I said, but neither team played really good in this one. And the only reason Miami's probably ahead of Michigan State is because Washington was not ranked and A&M was. But other teams taking care of business all over the board. Should make a lot of really good Week 4 matchups this coming weekend, where we start to see conference teams starting to face off against each other, some finishing non-con games. But Clemson and Wake Forest will be a fun one in the ACC opener. I'm looking forward to that one. Florida and Tennessee, I'm heard, is literally almost sold out already. And last I checked, it was Tuesday for the Saturday game. That's nuts. Texas Tech, Texas should be a fun game. That one I'll be looking forward to seeing. Arkansas A&M will be a fun game to watch. Wisconsin and Ohio State will face off. But there's a lot of other games on the docket for sure. I'll be interested to see where College Game Day goes. And I mean, that App State game, holy cow, what a weekend.
Dude,
for
that was
Boone.
crazy.
My goodness, that was fun.
Miracle in the mountains, man.
Yeah, there's something about it. Them being able to win
That
on a
whole
Hail
thing
Mary.
was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Especially college game day, moving to go to there, and then that going on. Did you see that one of the people won the college game day scholarship things for the semester?
I did see that.
With the sign.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That is sweet. We need more stuff like that. That's cool. Cool
You
for
think
the
college
culture.
game day is going to come to the Ferris Grand Valley game? It's 1 versus 2.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Think they would?
Could they?
Because
That
didn't
would
they
be
do that? Didn't they
bonkers.
do that like 2 or 3 years ago?
Did they?
I think they went to Grand Valley for something. If I'm
Did
not
they?
if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like
I could see Fox coming.
it was
here.
the year before we came here. I think because I went to that game and I thought I saw it. I'll try to look it up, but
Yeah.
I could have swore that they came to Grand Valley for something.
Yeah, that would honestly be pretty nuts if they did. I could see like just Fox Detroit coming again because I think that would definitely be
Yeah,
notable. Bring like Devin Gardner and those guys to call that game. I think that would be pretty sweet. And then especially for a 1v2. I mean, come on, that's just gonna be ticket sales galore. But dude, if Lee Corso and company found a way to come here, that would be epic. I would love that.
yeah. They've never been to a D2 school. People were campaigning for them to go there last year. At Grand Valley when it was at Lubbers, which would have been pretty sick.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's gonna be a 1 versus 2, like they got to.
I'm gonna turn that down. Man, that would be tough.
They have
So
to, don't they?
ideally, that game is what, October 15th. So that would be week 7 of college football season. Looking at some of those matchups that could potentially protrude into that. Michigan hosting Penn State. Tennessee hosting Bama in Knoxville. USC Utah in Utah. Arkansas BYU. And that's maybe Texas, Iowa State, maybe. But other than that, those are the only matchups that are really like popping out right now in my mind. Those Saturday games. I think there's also a Big 12 Thursday game, like West Virginia Baylor, I think, or something like that. But they wouldn't go to that one. So Clemson and Florida State would maybe be the other one in Tallahassee, but not a whole lot of other games. In my mind, it'd just be kind of like if it was going to be like Bama and Georgia, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't compete with that. But I think that'd be cool. I think that would show that it's just as much about football in general as it is just about.
I'd say what they should do is go to the
show
D2
themselves.
game of the year, or whatever. Like choose like a D2 game like every year, and then go to one. For
Yeah.
that week.
The only
That'd be
problem
sick.
is now then you'd have to be like, oh, now they have to go to a D3 game, and now we're losing 2 games, so
Well, they
that
don't
would
ha-
kind of
I mean,
suck.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It must be just because we're biased with it, but I feel like a 1 versus 2 thing, and
That'd be
especially
sweet.
since we're in the same conference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we should just like let's like
The only reason I say that too is like you know how much they don't have to televise the game, but you know how much like publicity they'll get to like these players who are like who are good enough to like Caleb Murphy is good enough to go to the league.
Yeah.
Like
I'll
there's
say
a lot
so.
of players. I feel like you
He
could
could
make the point on a lot of other players on Grand Valley. I mean, I don't know how good that Cade kid is, that quarterback. But I mean, you can make it like there's a lot of players who could definitely like make a case to make it to the league. Like there's a lot of good talent, but I don't know. I just say they should go just to be able to showcase that.
Yeah, even if it's like a minimalized version of game day, people would still go. I would say so, but it'd be kind of hard to do that. And I think like basically what I'm thinking of as far as a minimalized game day is literally what Fox Detroit does, and I'm sure they're going to want first bids at this. So, but I think, yeah, you're going to see something at this game for sure. The way that these two teams are playing, it's a head-on collision course for an epic football game. So we'll look forward to that. But let's start something, Joe. College game day to Big Rapids.
Let's do it, man.
Join us on social media. We'll start the trend right now. We got just under a month to get them into the B-Rap for Anchor Bone. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. You never know. Maybe we're a month from now and be like, we did it. You never know, man.
We should.
Could be cool.
It'd be sick.
So, but anyway, make sure you follow along. We'll do all the NFL picks, predictions, and all that recap on our later show this week. So we'll get into all that for NFL. So it should be fun. But in other news, in baseball news, wanted to touch on this really quick. The Detroit Tigers
We
have
got a good GM, finally.
Whoa, well, hold on, Joe.
Well, I'm saying he's going to be a good GM. Anybody's better than Al Avila. Let's just be honest.
Well, here's the thing. Scott Harris was hired as the president of baseball operations, is his technical title that he was hired to.
But
will he become the GM will be the question.
Basically, he's going to be the GM.
Yeah.
He was Giants general manager. We don't have a GM right now. I feel like he's going to be both. Because that's what Stevie Y does for the Red Wings.
Right.
He's the president of operations and the GM.
Yeah. Here's
and
why
here's
why I'm hesitant. The problem that we've also had in the last couple years, especially with Al, was that he was doing everything so much. He wasn't physically focused enough on picking a lot of those players properly. Like there was definitely a lot of guys that we could have had in different situations. So maybe separating them is the way to go, so that there's a lot more focus on the analytical side, like they wanted when they hired Al Avila originally. But no, whether he's going to be just the president of baseball ops or if he's going to do both as a GM, Scott Harris is an absolute bomb of a hire. Absolutely great hire. He was the guy that really built up the San Francisco Giants organization. He's been a part of them in their run last year with the most games winning in a regular season. And I think the biggest thing is they've revitalized a lot of great careers. And I think it was one of those situations where we have a lot of great players in older years, and I think that what he has learned from the Giants is how to be able to save those, especially arms. This was something that Chris Castellini pointed out on a video that I watched of his, is like the amount of old arms that they've been able to revitalize with like Kevin Gossman, just as one of the examples. Like they've really done a great job of developing a lot of these older players to be able to contribute at a high level, even though they're kind of leaving their prime per se. But no, I think what we're seeing from Scott Harris, a really young upstart mind, and I think it's going to be a really nice job filling that position with a really talented, really knowledgeable president of operations. If he's GM, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, hopefully I think if we do hire him, it's going to be pretty solid. Giants kind of did a little bit of a turnaround because they were really good back in the early 2010s when they made those 3 and 6 years, a 3 and 5 year run for World Series. But then they went and they kind of went a little bit of downscape, but now they're kind of getting back up a little bit. They got Jock Peterson now. They got some good players. It's just that now that they're kind of getting back into it, they're 70 and 77 in a very competitive NL West division, which the Padres are just running away with it basically at this point. But I think if we do sign him as GM, he has one, a lot more money to work with than he had with the Giants. Two, if he's just president of baseball operations, I think he's going to be able to hire a pretty good candidate for GM because he knows what it takes to be somewhat successful. Al Avila was just a dumpster fire basically the last 10 years. He didn't really do anything. The thing about that whole situation back when we were actually good at baseball for a little bit is we could have been a team that would have been a powerhouse for the next 15 years. But Al Avila decided, let's just trade away everybody. Let's trade away everybody for nothing. We didn't get players to really make the team any better. We slowly got rid of everybody. We started out with one of the best teams probably ever created in the past 30 years. And then what we do? We trade away Justin Verlander for almost nothing. We trade away Max Scherzer for almost nothing. We have free agents leave. We just get nothing in return for these players. And it's we don't shell out the money that we have to give away. And then I think now that we have a guy that can actually do that and actually has the mindset to be able to think about that, is that we're going to get back to a spot where we'll be at least a little bit of contenders, hopefully. Who knows? We're having a pretty lackluster season this year. I thought we were going to be playing a lot better than this. But, when you sign Javi Baez to a $200-some-odd million deal, and that's your best player that you have, and he's going to have this bad of a season, that's just bad to look at. And if that's one of Al Avila's best moves that he's made in the past 5 years. So I think anybody is going to be better than Al Avila.
No, I think, yeah. It was really a poor showing from Avila over his years, so hopefully we can get past that. But Scott Harris is just a guy that's really learned how to really put an emphasis on the modern side of the game with things like analytics, with really helping develop a lot of these prospective players into fine talents and finding those older guys and seeing what they can still provide to the team. And that's really one of the things that he really did in his really one of his first like significant jobs was when he was helping working under Epstein and Jed Hoyer in Chicago to end up getting them their record-breaking World Series. So that was really where he kind of became a big household name. And then he was eventually up to assistant general manager, and then the Giants took a step and wanted him as general manager. And then we saw obviously the great success they had last year, and then they obviously losing a couple players and losing a couple to injury and trade and free agency obviously hurt them. But I mean, it's a great hire. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of direction we're going, because we're kind of still at an impasse of obviously we'll hear the press conference here later. It'll actually be this afternoon on Tuesday as we're recording this, but it'll probably be on Wednesday when we kind of figure out everything that they're trying to do. If they're going to hire another GM that he's going to work with, or if he's going to take the role of president of baseball operations and general manager, or how that's exactly going to work. But I think we're in good hands right now, and it's going to be really looking to be a lot of positivity going up. As we've concluded this season, that has been a big disappointment, but I mean,
terrible.
Not much you can do about it. Just move on, new beginnings,
and try to play somewhat better.
True, that's facts.
Better as we can.
Yep. But anyway, finishing out the show,
NASCAR.
We're getting to Joe's undercovered sports topics.
NASCAR.
We did disc golf last week. You can check out that episode. Now we're going to NASCAR because Joe's in the racing mood. But a fun race this weekend.
NASCAR a little bit. Yeah, the Bristol Motor Speedway, the Bass Pro Shops night race with the last round of 16 in the playoffs. If you don't know how NASCAR playoffs works, it's kind of a point system, and only 16 drivers qualify. However, all the racers race. And so how it works now, especially with with at least a round of 16 concluding, it included the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway, the Kansas Speedway, as well as the Bristol Motor Speedway or the Bass Pro Shops night race. Bass Pro Shops night race was the last of the round of 16, and that means that we're moving on to the round of 12. So the Cup Series right now, it stands at Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, my guy, racing for Toyota, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney are in the top 8. Now, in that bottom 4 in the top 12 is Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick both missing out on that, which is a pretty big one if you can't really pay attention to racing at all. But also, Martin Truex missed out. The Truex team is not going to be able to get in anywhere on the playoffs, which is unfortunate. However, this Sunday is going to be the big one. It's Texas Motor Speedway. That one's going to be huge. Pretty excited for that one, honestly, because that one's going to be pretty solid. The Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 500. Mm-hmm. If you're just wondering if NASCAR's running out of money, just look how many names are in front of the race. Yeah,
advertising.
But
everywhere.
I think it's honestly a pretty sick looking playoff so far. I mean, Chase Elliott and Joey Logano were racing pretty well. Denny Hamlin was pretty solid, especially during the Bristol night race. He was chilling out at number 2 for the longest time, went all the way back down to I think 11th or 12th, but then Denny Hamlin's pretty solid at making that last push near the end. He knows how to really work out, especially in big crowds like that, because if you do know anything about racing and the Bristol Motor Speedway, it's one of the last stadium series to exist. Mm-hmm. So it's a very short track. It's only, I think, a half mile or a quarter mile. I can't remember, but there's not a lot of space. Races are only going to get up to about 150 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour. Once they hit the corner, then they're going to slow down a little bit. But it was a pretty sick race. I mean, a lot of overtakes. It was really close quarters, really cool. But right now, or especially last weekend on Sunday, Joey Logano kind of ran away with it. He led for 719 laps, including the last lap, and he already has 5 stage wins for this stage. So going into, I think Joey Logano and Chase Elliott Chase Elliott was the one who led. Joey Logano was right behind him, but those two are going to be definitely ones to watch out. But yeah, Joey Logano, not really my favorite. I watched him when he was on Disney XD on Lab Rats back in the day.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, I like this guy, but now he's just more of a complainer. So I don't really like him too much. He just complains about like races and stuff, like if he doesn't win.
Yeah, it's definitely a different vibe. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Just the fact that, like you mentioned, some household names being left off the list, like Harvick so far. Not finishing really well in the Cookout Southern and the Hollywood Casino 400. In those two races, 33rd and 36th, is not where we normally see him in the top 20 for sure. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he can sneak up there now and then. He's very consistent driver. It's just he's not been as consistent high up so far this year, and that's what's kind of held him back. But I think like right now, like Kyle Busch is on a pretty bad skid. So he's starting to fall. We got a lot of guys that Kevin Harvick still has 2 wins this year. Behind him, or above him, I should say, Tyler Reddick has 2 wins this year. So these guys, even though they might not have some of the best, most consistent races, have definitely shown that they can win. But obviously we haven't seen Tyler Reddick race in a while, so I don't know if we're going to see him this weekend. But I think there's going to be a lot to look forward to in one of these longer races. So
yeah, I am more of a fan of the longer races, mainly because that is just kind of more like overtakes and stuff. The smaller races are a lot of just kind of like more technical driving, while a lot of times you see in the bigger races like Talladega and like Talladega, like the Poconos and stuff like that, you see a lot more like cars opening it up, getting up to 200, 210 some miles an hour, 220, and really kind of letting the horsepower and that kind of be the showcase of the day. But, a lot of people like the Bass Pro Shops night race just because of the history and tradition of it, and it's one of the last stadiums that are just solely for racing.
Yeah, so, right now looking at the NASCAR playoff meter that Fox always puts out, it's going to be really fight to stay alive right now, like Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, as mentioned. It's got to be your best performance or go home. That's really where you're at this moment. You got guys like Chase Elliott and Joey Logano who are looking to really make sure that you're finishing. Just finish, right?
Yeah. That's really all they have to do. They really didn't do super hot in this race. I know I said they've been doing pretty solid so far in the Cup Series standings, but this race, they kind of fell apart a little bit. They didn't even crack the top 10.
Yeah. You just got to make sure.
Dropped pretty far.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you get around the track the correct number of laps and get across the line. Make sure you finish, and then you move on. Then you're going to make it to the next round. But for a lot of those other drivers, this is now in the postseason of racing with this new format that, we're going to see a lot more aggression in a lot of these races because naturally, if there's a move, I'm going to have to make it. I can't think twice, right? Because especially when you got 50 to go and you're in a 20 spot, you see these other guys up in the 15s and 10s. It might not matter if you got a good drag or you might not have the right airflow on a potential slingshot. You're going to still take it, though, if you can get every inch by inch in this moment, because at that moment, obviously, you have the time to wait. But there's a wreck coming in the final 20 laps, right? And you want to make sure that you're as far up and away from it as possible, and so it doesn't take out your season. Just because all these drivers are now in a mode where a lot of guys might be normally conservative. They're going to start getting more aggressive in these playoff races just because, like I said, can't leave points on the table at this point.
Yeah, true.
It's fight to survive.
And for us, we're not even really huge NASCAR guys. I just got into it recently because one of my friends really likes it, so I watched the past couple races that have been going down. But for a lot of racers that choose to race differently, Logano kind of likes to keep it inside a little bit and kind of really hug the inside of the track. Hamlin likes to kind of go up top, use those hairpin turns a little bit more, and kind of cut the corner a little bit at the end, which when it gets down to it, that might be a situation where you got to really change your race strategy. Well, do you have to either go up around the outside of the top of the corner or top of the turn and kind of try to beat them to the downslope, or you got to either have it where you're going to have to hug the inside a little bit more, not give up those chances for those racers behind you to overtake you. So that's one thing that I'm going to be really looking forward to, especially this coming Sunday when they take on Texas Motor Speedway there. That's going to be really cool because it's, I think, a little bit longer of a racetrack. But one thing, too, Brandon, I wanted to bring up is Ford, I think, is discontinuing the Mustang production after this year.
What?
So I don't know if they're going to be making Mustangs for NASCAR, because I know, especially a few years ago, they used to be basically racing in Ford Fusions and stuff because they didn't allow muscle cars. But now that they do, it's the Corvette, it's the Mustang, it's a little bit different for how they're kind of manufacturing. So I don't know, Brandon, do you think they're going to probably, if that's true, I heard it just from one of my friends that's into kind of cars and that type of stuff. If that's true, are they going to continue just manufacturing the Mustang or manufacturing NASCAR Mustangs rather than for mass production?
So they're taking
Ford,
the Mustang off
Ford,
circuit racing.
Since Ford is trying to go more electric car route, they're not really going for the muscle car anymore, like the sports car type
right.
thing. They'll probably still keep they're just trying to make it so it's a little bit more electronic and stuff and more that type of stuff, electric cars. So the question is now, are they going to kind of push that towards racing as well and stop that manufacturing for that and try to have NASCAR kind of switch it to where it's going to go back to the thing like where the Fusion's racing and it's going to be like the Chevy Cruze and stuff rather than the Corvette and the Mustang and then whatever Toyota drives.
Oh man, I would.
Oh, Camry. That's what Toyota drives.
Camry. I think. Well, obviously those aren't going to be stock mods, but I can't see. Like that would suck. I know like the Chevy's obviously they were going away from the Camaro for a while. But I feel like
Chevy's Camaro. They're not the Corvette. I apologize.
I think they've already made so many modifications, even just in mass-produced stock cars, that you can still have the ability to use the Mustang for your advantage and still have, because like Ford without the Mustang is just it's not the same kind of a vibe. I think what they like have with the Mustang having the Mustang on the track and having the Mustang available to average consumers is what drives people to get some of those cars, like especially NASCAR fans. Like, yeah, I want a car that goes fast, of course. So
yeah, you want to get moving.
Yeah, and the Mustang is definitely the big ticket for them. So I mean, you look at that idea, I guess. I don't do that's if they do that's a bold move for them. It's not going to be branding wise, but
it's not going to be anything too soon. Ford's gas-powered Mustang may be discontinued by 2028, according to industry insiders. Ford's top brass are looking to discontinue the gas-powered Ford Mustang by roughly 2028, making the upcoming 7th generation Mustang the last of the lineup.
In Mustang altogether, or gas?
I think in Mustang altogether.
Oh,
so that's the thing. If they discontinue that altogether, like, are they going to keep on doing that for NASCAR? Is NASCAR going to have to switch it up? Where they'd probably go with where they might go with like the GT or something.
I don't know. That's where I'm like, discontinuing the Mustang altogether is a bold move. I mean, I can understand, like,
because then it would be more of a sport. They'd have to, if they go to the GT. Sorry to interrupt, but if they go to the GT, they're gonna have to go to more of like a sports car type deal, and it's gonna be more of like a F1 type feel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think if they go to the GT, they're gonna have to make a lot of changes body wise. But I think there's still like an ability for them to keep it both. I think what would make it really like I could see them. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't. I think maybe they just kind of want to keep the Mustang in its original shell, and I think they just kind of want to keep it that way. I did just see something online that said that they're going to race it in 24 still, but I think you're going to see a lot of these cars starting to get that modernized, sleeker shape. I think you're going to, like, especially on the mass markets, or if you're going out to buy a car, like, you're going to see them a lot sleeker.
It's going to be a lot more about efficiency, I feel like.
Correct. I think that's what the biggest, and that's really why we have electric vehicles, is we're looking to be efficient, and we're not trying to make it as best environmentally possibly the best it can be, as well as still having great performance. So that's what the ultimate goal is. It would be really bold, I think, in that mind, to take the Mustang out completely. But obviously, I mean, it'll be very interesting. I could see them going and keeping the Mustang on the market a couple years after they discontinue it from NASCAR, possibly. Just so that you can keep it on, because people still buy Mustangs. It's just hard for me to believe.
They'll still be around. It's just you're not going to get any new ones.
Yeah, like, I mean, they already worked on the modernized like 5.0s that you can get for really cheap, actually, like 30 or 40,000 compared to Corvettes and Camaros, which are like 70, 80. So I think they're going to keep it around. It's affordable. I mean, everybody loves Ford. Well, not everybody, but people in Michigan have an attachment to Ford and the Mustang. So obviously that and the F-150 will probably be around for years and years to come in this state, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be around for a while. Yeah. But the next question that is asked, like, if they do discontinue, excuse me, little voice crack, sorry, my bad. But if they can discontinue the Mustang, then, like, what are they going to do with the Camaro? Are they going to do that with, or are they going to try to keep the Camaro? Or are they going to switch to the Corvette? Because then they'll try to do a more sports car type deal.
That would be interesting, because they have both, where it's like Ford. I mean, you have the GT, but it's not.
I just wonder what Toyota would do, because Toyota doesn't have a sports car, do they?
Well, if you considered the Supra,
I get. It's the Supra.
But that's pretty much like Fast and Furious vibes. So, but no, that'd be really interesting to see here. I mean, it's really going to be something that I would look into, just not even as a NASCAR fan, just to see how that kind of goes, because that's going to affect
That would
industrial
impact a lot of
production
things.
and analytics. So
We're trying to do like a finance podcast.
we
basically
kind
at
of
this
are,
point.
basically, because when this stock does this and then that, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm interested to see, though. I mean, it's going to be a couple years until it makes that decision, but like, if you're NASCAR fans, that's a pretty solid point of discussion to have, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll still see. I think the Camaro just has probably better opportunity to make that transition.
I like the Camaro better than the
I
Mustang, to
think
be
it
honest.
has the opportunity for where they're kind of going in that direction. Then the Corvette, like the Corvette and the GT, to me have a different feel of vibe. I mean, obviously body shape is it's the most notable.
It's not. They're sports cars. They're not muscle cars.
Right. So I think when you think of NASCAR, you automatically think of making an efficient, more swift muscle car, because obviously you're going to need the horsepower and you're going to need the torque to be able to get around the track as much as be fast. So
every time that I just look, just in not even like the stock things like that, what NASCAR makes for the cars or like how they look on the track, just like in general, if you look at a Mustang and a Camaro and then you just have the Camry right next to it, it's like sport or muscle car. Mom's got to take the kids to soccer practice.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
Yes, it literally is. I would be curious if Toyota would ever consider like manufacturing a true muscle car, because I mean the Supra
is kind of a sports car.
It's a sports car.
The way it's built, because it's got more of like the long hood and like the shorter back.
Yeah,
that's the same thing that like the Corvette kind of has now.
Yeah, I think what is it the GTS, I know, or what is it, 86 GTS kind of has that vibe. For those familiar with the Toyota 86, it kind of has that. As far as it's got the track styles, but it's kind of it really kind of hit its heyday back in like, I want to say like mid 15, 16, 14, maybe 18.
Yeah.
But I think it's one that you could kind of say maybe not. But no, I think those three brands are probably gonna stay to fight. But maybe it'll be interesting to see if more brands want to jump on board there too.
Yeah,
so.
if more kind of teams and stuff start to build up. But that's interesting, especially seeing that NASCAR has got a little bit of a change coming its way. So that's going to be pretty cool. Brandon, I think we probably should end the show there.
Whew, we went long
We
today.
went a little bit long today, but hey, time flies when you're having fun.
True facts.
Yeah, it's true. But thanks again so much for listening. Again, check out our YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere where you can listen to us, as well as Instagram and Twitter at where, Brandon?
At the MVSP.
At the MVSP. So we're going to head out. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And once again, take care.